everybody. How you doing out there? All right. And the applause goes wild. All right, so how's it going, everybody? Awesome. It's really cool to see all you guys here. Thanks for joining me. As you know, shit in the world is really crazy right now. Everybody is just kind of, their plans, their lives have all been upheaved. Everything's screwy right now. But, you know, however this goes, you know, we have each other, we have music. I know I'm jumping right into this, but it's mainly my way of saying thanks for being here. You know, I know a lot of people were ready to see Blitzkid go on tour. I was ready. It's been 8-9 years, you know, and we finally decided to go on a tour, and surprise. But, you know, it's weird because, you know, we're all geared up and practiced and rehearsed and ready to go, and, you know, the rug virtually got yanked out from underneath us and a lot of our friends and just so many people around the world. So, you know, I started noticing people doing live streams and as a way to engage. And, I mean, I try to be as productive as possible, you know, coming on. I don't admittedly get on, you know, live as much as I probably should, but that's not, you know, a thing of, like, not having an interest in what you guys are doing. It's mainly I'm one dude running sometimes 3 to 4 bands, you know, and everything you see that comes out is just like, it's not a factory, you know, it's right here. So it's hard, but, you know, one thing that's, I guess, come out of all this is, you know, the world's basically been put on pause in so many ways, you know, and for me personally, it's really given me a chance so far in just the 2 weeks that we've been on lockdown to really start looking into things that I've wanted to do for a long time. So, yeah, this is one of them. I'm not going to promise it's going to be pretty. I'm not going to promise it's going to be entertaining. But, you know, I don't even know if that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to reach out and see you guys and see how everything's going, how everybody's doing out there. So I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves and each other and, you know, practicing your social distancing and all that stuff. But yeah, you know, this is something I want to do. As I see it, like every week, it doesn't look like any of us have shit going on. So as far as I know, my Monday nights are free. You know, I got to do it at certain times through the day because I have neighbors. So if we're missing anybody, you know, who's in the service industry and stuff like that working right now, I'm sorry, but we'll keep this like saved and as live as it's going to be for 24 hours after this. So, yes, I really did do a Maurice Williams and the Zodiacs cover, but it wasn't just me. It was Zombina and the Skeletones. That's a whole big story. I guess I could tell you that story if you want to hear it, right? I mean, story time, right? So the Maurice Williams and the Zodiacs, that's a song that I've always loved. When I started writing music, that was actually one of the prototype songs that I said, if I could write a song like this, or close to this, in this vein, in this vibe, I'll be very happy. And I did, at least in my own interpretation of what I did, do something like that with a Blitzkid song, actually. And that was the song As the Rope Bridge Sways on Traced with Stranger, which was really a diversion for us, I guess. It was different at the time, you know, for a song like that to be on the type of album that Traced with Stranger was. But I always had the shabub stuck in the back of my head. You know, shabub. And I kind of brought that into As the Rope Bridge Sways. I guess I stole it now that I listen to it. But I don't think so. But anyway, long story short, anytime I love karaoke, I don't know if any of you guys know this out there, but I love karaoke. And for years, I would go, not necessarily karaoke bars, but places that were doing karaoke. And I would always sign up. And I guess I'll give you guys a little backstory on this too. I had a karaoke name, and my name was Bradley Whitmore, and I guess it still is. And the reason why I chose that name was like years and years and years ago. I'm talking like back when Blitzkid were on Antidote Records. So if there are any of our homies from 2001 out there, you'll know what I'm talking about. There was a message board, and that was more or less like the social network of the time for horror punk in that day and age. And there were, I don't remember who it was, but people were arguing, and they were like, no, his name isn't Steve, it's Brad. It's Bradley Whitmore. And this person was so sincere about my name being Bradley Whitmore that it started an online like troll battle. And like I was like, well, I like that name. I think I would rather be called Bradley Whitmore, honestly. So that became my Paul Ramone, my Paul McCartney thing whenever I go to do stuff like karaoke. But back to Maurice Williams and the Zodiacs. There's a video of me doing it online, which is why I think the whole thing came up. And years later, we were on tour in Blitzkid with Zombina and the Skeletones. Yes, will the real Bradley Whitmore please stand up? It's me. And we were talking about just, Ash and Zombina and myself, they have a great taste in music. Ash is like a phenomenal songwriter. I mean, he's really, really like astute guitar player, like really understated, and I think like underappreciated in my opinion in a lot of ways. But we were talking about Maurice Williams and, like the thing that I did with it. And they were talking about how they were eventually going to do a cover of it. And, one thing led to another. And that's how I came to be involved in it. So I think it's on Spotify. I know it's there somewhere. I don't know if you need to search for Zombina or me or what. But there's a part in there where I do like she's like Goolsby, I'm like, yeah, Zombina, that whole thing, the call and answer. So it was a lot of fun, and we were actually going to do a music video for that at one point. We had it all scripted out where we were going to make like a social commentary on technology. It wasn't the way that it is now, but like I wish we would have done it, because what I'm doing now is kind of what we were going to do. We're going to have a music video where we're chatting with one another via like interwebs. And at the end of the video, it's going to pan back and show that we were side by side on separate computers, just to kind of like comment on how people are together but separate sometimes. But that's not really the case now. This is really the only time we're together. So anyway, there is that story. And yep, Liverpool. Many memories of playing Liverpool. I got chased by the biggest rat I've ever seen in my life in Liverpool, trying to take a photo of a giant ceramic clown. That's the truth. But let's see here. Any plans to add Seattle? Seattle is definitely going to be on the reschedule. We are playing Seattle. Do I practice those crazy things? You don't stay. It's all spontaneous, man. Like, I don't even know what I do. Sometimes it's, I laugh when I see it. I'm like, what am I doing? But I always said to people, especially back in the day, it's easy to look at a clip online and be like, oh, okay, well, look at them play. But it's not like we just, beamed ourselves in and we're just like, all right, let's play. Like, a lot of that on my behalf was like sometimes 8 hours of driving a day, just like tapping the steering wheel, like I'm going crazy. So, whenever it was showtime, I mean, it was fucking showtime. You know what I mean? So, Buddy Holly covers, yeah, man, we could do some stuff like that. Detroit is not on the list, man. I'm so sorry. And that is not like, this is probably a good time to explain some things, because I know we have people asking us quite a bit, like, why aren't you playing here? Why aren't you playing there? Like, we don't sit around with like, a master map of the states or the world for that matter and go, yeah, fuck that place. Like, it's not like that at all. A lot of it comes down to availability and the types of venues that we play. We're playing some pretty, I don't say like fancy or anything venues, but, like House of Blues is on the next tour. There's some places that, the scheduling is hard enough on its own to get a show there, much less try to link it up with, 15, 16 other shows, and in our case 30. So sometimes you got to miss a market to make 3 other ones work. And unfortunately, that's kind of where I think we are, and a lot of bands are, for that matter, when it comes to touring. Am I still friends with the guys in 1476? I am. I like to think I am. There's never been any bad blood, as far as I know. There's been some contention. Is probably the most loaded word I could use. But it's never been anything that I've generated or felt compelled to perpetuate. And honestly, when I say contention, it's just like the usual push and pull of band relationships. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely pull those dudes out of a fire. Getting some serious reading done during this pandemic. Any suggestions? Algernon Blackwood, by far. He's English writer, really did a lot of influence on stuff like Lovecraft and a lot of people that, we know here in America. Ambrose Bierce, not really per se like horror. He was part of the late Victorian era of ghost stories. I mean, they were popular at that point, and a lot of people were taking a stab at them. I mean, Charles Dickens had a ghost story, Wilkie Collins. And I'm going to try not to get down this rabbit hole because this is one of my main rabbit holes. But Ambrose Bierce was actually he was in the Civil War. He was a soldier, but he wrote some really good stories, so you should check him out. We're looking forward to the Trioxin Show too. That's another one that got. I just did play Close Casket Heart. You'll have to come back and watch it when it's not so live, but it's saved. But yeah, the Trioxin event we're looking forward to. That's obviously a special event for all of us involved, and myself, and some of the people playing in particular. Beyond just playing shows, it's got a purpose. Anyway, Critters or Gremlins? Probably Gremlins. Critters are cool, but Critters were funny. Gremlins actually scared me. Wild Branch of Rose, okay. And Occurrence Owl Creek, exactly. And there's an episode of Twilight Zone, I think in the 4th or 5th season, that they used that. Well, we got many, many Mondays ahead of us, so many rabbit holes. Weird New Jersey places. I've tried to go to the Pine Barrens, but chickened out. You should talk to Johnny Ott about that, though. Dear Theta, okay. Life Without Soul. There you go. Hope to see you in Germany. Yeah, here again. So, throwing this out there. We want to come to Germany. The whole thing with the Escape the Grave tour, just to give you, to drop the curtain on everything, we didn't really plan it, to be quite honest with you. I mean, it's been 8 years that we've really done anything, minus the Trioxin tribute last year. But from the point that we played that, we got into contact with some people who we used to work with, and we're like, what do you think? And, the whole idea of a tour came up, and, TB and I talked, and we're like, let's do it. Because, again, I want to stress this to a lot of people. There's so much to talk about, right? But Blitz could never ended in a fuck you basis sort of scenario. It got to a point where it outgrew its means and our abilities to carry it at the way we really wanted to do it. So, I look at it more like taking a book and putting it on a shelf for a little while. So when we took the book down for the Trioxin events, we realized this is a really good book, and people want to check this book out of the library, so to speak. And we have a U.S. agent, and it's that simple. We don't currently have a European agent. But I will say, since we've started working with the agency whom we're working with in America, we started talking to their agent who handles all the international bands. So it's very, very possible, should there be interest in Europe, that Blitzkid could make a trip over there. So that's definitely in our plan. Please, if you're from Europe or Germany, don't think that in any way we're screw you guys. We haven't forgotten you. We were and still are, to a large part, what we were and still are because of you guys. I mean, we played Europe probably more than any other place we played. So, oh, and by the way, I'm going to do my best. This is my first time doing this. All right, that's why I'm just sitting here with the shit-eating grin on my face. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm going to try to answer everyone's questions. If I don't, I'm not ignoring you. Okay. Like, I'm just trying to balance my stream of consciousness with your questions. Brazil, I mean, Blitzkid went to Brazil. We I don't know if some people know that. We did a brief tour of Brazil with Slim Jim Phantom from Stray Cats back in 2009, I think it was. Whenever Michael Jackson died, because that happened when we were there, and I was super bummed about that. Tilt your screens so the comments are over your face. That's okay. Look in there. I'm just absorbing. I'm eating them all. Ah. I'm sorry. Writing anything new together. I mean, we'll see what happens. Do I do any tattoos on tour? Generally, no. I don't really like to tattoo outside of, a studio environment. Not trying to be an elitist or anything like that. Like, conventions are good. I mean, they're set up for that, but I've done hotel room tattoos before, I'm not going to lie, but I don't really want to do that. So I generally just try to set things up in studio. The reason why I've taken such a hiatus from it is I live in Connecticut now. When I moved here from West Virginia, I more or less left the tattoo shop that I worked at. Wufu Tattoos in Princeton, West Virginia. Shout out. And it wasn't until recently that a good friend of mine, a fellow by the name of Brad Touchette, shout out Brad Touchette, at a place called Fight or Flight Tattoo Studios in Massachusetts, we got to talking about me coming in and doing some guest spots up there. And guest spots kind of turned into, well, why don't you just get your license? You're only 2 hours away. You can make some appointments and trips up here. Brad plays in a band called Damnation, and their drummer Benny also happens to be the guy playing drums on the upcoming Blitzkid tour, so it all works out. Conventions, yeah, I mean, that's Brad and I have talked about that, like kind of hitting up tattoo conventions, like maybe ending tours in areas where there are conventions and doing that. Poland, we'd love to go back. Have we played Poland? Get back to me on that. WV in the house. Just another pothole dodging day in West Virginia, man. Meanwhile, I'm up here in the epicenter of the coronavirus. I live like 25, 30 miles away from Westchester County, which is, at least was a few weeks ago, the epicenter of this whole nonsense bullshit that's going on right now. So, getting back to that, man, I hope all you guys are being mindful, and there's a lot of information out there, there's a lot of news, but sometimes there's a lot of just information. Do you know what I mean? And it's so hard to dissect facts from opinions and things like that, because it's all like, kind of disguised as news. So just be mindful. So, can you guys hear everything okay? Favorite Universal monster, the Invisible Man. Past that, I would say Creature from the Black Lagoon, because that was my main when I was a kid. I mean, dun 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 dun. That was my jam. But as I got a little older, and the Invisible Man just kind of had more like pathos to him, I think. And honestly, he was really, out of all the monsters, I guess he was the least monstrous. He was just maniacal. Although it's really, if you think about it, Dracula was the only real monster that acted on being a monster. Frankenstein really had no choice, right? The monster. Invisible Man made a bad decision, ended up crazy. Wolfman had jack shit to do with becoming the Wolfman. Creature from Black Lagoon is just like, get the fuck out of my lagoon. I'm sorry if there are kids watching. But Dracula's like, look, I'm going to take this on tour and go to Europe and start eating people there. He does have a maniacal laugh. And my favorite part of the Invisible Man was when he's like, he says the most random stuff like, how's that for a hairbrush, John Henry? And stuff like that. The Mummy, yeah, I love The Mummy. The Mummy, don't get me started on The Mummy. There was a movie that was supposed to be before The Mummy called Cagliostro, which I have the script for. Oh, check this out. This is a really good book. You should check this out. Karloff the Invisible Man. This is the original script from I want to say it's the original 4 drafts of The Invisible Man when Karloff was slated to be the monster. But he was off doing another thing at the time. And Colin Clive, who played Dr. Frankenstein, was going to be the doctor. So they were actually going to split the role of Invisible Man up into 2 roles. But I digress. What's up, Hungary? There you go. Homeland. Argentina. What's up, dude? Anyway. So, Sleepy Hollow. Well, the movie or the place? Yeah, I did hear about that. That's for another day, though. I've got some funny stories about, well, at least Universal. Let's see here. Man, a lot of people from South America today, man. What's up? I just played Close Casket Heart, so you'll have to come back and check it out. So, yeah, man. There's Mark. What's up, Mark? Hope you're doing good, dude. I heard that Rhode Island is just like Thunderdome right now, keeping everybody out. I don't blame you. I wouldn't let all of us in either, man. Like, we're sick as shit down here in Connecticut and New York and New Jersey. Newfoundland, yeah, man, you're way up there. So, again, the whole thing here, I'm sorry if I'm losing steam. It's not that. I want to answer your guys' questions. My favorite horror director, that's hard to say. I want to say, I can't say Murnau, you know what I mean? Because really, aside from Faust, which isn't a horror movie, all he really did was Nosferatu. I don't mean all he did. He did a lot of great movies, especially when he came to the United States. Sunrise is one of the, anybody who's a film critic, it doesn't matter if they hate everything, is like, oh, Sunrise is one of the best movies ever made. And it is. I like the Halprin brothers. They did White Zombie, and they also did a movie followed that called Supernatural. They're not like great movies, but I like their approach. I like the fact, like with White Zombie, for example, there's an attempt to kind of invoke the whole silent expressionism vibe. There's very little dialogue. It's very moody and atmospheric, and I like stuff like that. So, Cask of Amontillado. Yeah, it was more or less just an interpretation, but kind of taken on a more of like a lover scorned angle instead of like two friends going at it. So I'm just trying to remember that one. Is that right? I think so. White Zombie is amazing. I loved White Zombie. White Zombie caught a bad rap originally, just because it was really one of the first independent horror movies to kind of really try to go against the majors. You had Dracula, obviously, which kind of kicked the door in on the whole horror cycle, as they called it in the 30s. Grossing first week showing like $50,000 in 1930 in the Depression. That's crazy. And then Frankenstein grossed more than that. I think like $50,000 in the first week. And a lot of these movies played for like 3 weeks. I believe the next one was Frederick March's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and then Murders in the Rue Morgue with Bela Lugosi. And then the Halprins came along and were like inspired by a book called The Magic Island by a guy named Seabrook. And if you get a chance to read The Magic Island, it's a really interesting book. There's some parts in it that are kind of dated, which I don't really agree with, but from the perspective of bringing zombies into culture, that's what the Halprins were trying to do with this. They wanted to we have a vampire, a monster, a mad scientist, zombies. So they introduced the whole concept of zombies, to Western the Western world, so to say. So, but yeah, no, I think it was an awesome movie. You know, they went head to head with all those other studios and did really well despite the odds that were against it. Castlevania, yeah, man, that has to be my favorite Nintendo game. I remember the day, and I'm not exaggerating, I remember the day that I saw Castlevania. I was living in West Virginia, right? And there was two brothers that lived down the road from me, Greg and Gary Glenn. Hopefully they're on here. It'd be awesome to talk to them. But, you know, we were just like monster kids, man. You know, there was no, like, internet, so we just kind of waited around on AMC to show stuff on Friday night. Maybe they might show the Phantom of the Opera. And this guy Greg called me, and he's like, "You have to come to my house. I got a game. I'm fighting a vampire and skeletons." And so I remember just running down the road, like losing my flip-flops, and I come in all out of breath. And I just remember the scene of the first thing I saw was Belmont like whapping one of those like skeletal dragon heads, and like that was it for me. It blew my mind. Like I was instantly hooked on that game, and I still love it. I'll play it even now on an emulator just for shits and giggles. Any other movies and documentaries in the Mothman Prophecies worth checking out? Real quick, I did see the adaptation of Castlevania on Netflix. I thought it was good. Documentaries, I know Small Town Monsters are doing a lot of cool stuff. Super Mario, I love Super Mario. Mario 2 was like a acid trip, right? Not that I like acid trips, but it was very like nightmarish. My favorite gravesite that I visited, I would probably have to say F.W. Murnau, the director, of Nosferatu. I was on tour. If you want to hear the story, I know I'm just going on and on, but I was on tour probably 2016, I believe it was, with Nimvind, and we were in Europe, and we had a tour bus, right, which was awesome, but my friend Stephen Nacy, who runs our merchandise for us from time to time, he was on vacation at the time, so I just opted to ride along with him, keep him company, and hang out. So we were kind of on a different schedule than the tour bus. We just we would show up when we needed to be, but we weren't on the same ride. And one night after a show in Berlin, we went to Wilmersdorf, I think it's Wilmersdorf Cemetery, and we were actually looking for Max Schreck's grave, and we had no luck finding it, so we ended up going to Wilmersdorf and the next morning and saw Murnau's grave. And I don't know if you guys know this, but like right before that happened, so this was like 2015, 16, someone had busted into Murnau's tomb that he'd been resting in since 1931 and stole his head. And like here we are, looking like two dudes who would definitely steal somebody's head, unaware that someone's head has been stolen from the grave that we're lurking around. And you know, they let us know what was going on. They were cool about it, but that was probably one of my favorites. Calabrese. Oh, Calabrese in the house. Hey, we're going to be, if you guys are into this, should you come back next week, I'm going to be bringing in some guests. I'm going to be bringing in some people to my nice little late night desk right here, and I think we should get Davey Calabrese in here. What do you think? Insidious, Annabelle, Conjuring, they're cool. You know, like I'm not like a huge fan. Do you know what I mean? They're okay. I'm not really into like possession stuff. Like Exorcist did it for me. I loved it. Remake it was good. I thought that was really good. A lot of people, and it's going to be anything, you know, hell, we get it in Blitzkid, like when we rewrote our own songs or re-recorded them, there's always going to, and that's totally fine if, you know, you like one version over the other. That's how it should be. So for me, like with it, the remake, I didn't try to look at it like I did through my 12-year-old lens. I just tried to look at it through what the story was trying to do all along, and I feel like the remake really captured a lot of the sadism of it that the TV series didn't. Usual Bass Rig, I like Ampeg. I like to use tube heads, Ampex CL. Graves as a guest would be awesome. We'll give him a holler, as we say, down in the holler. Look at Davey. He's got 2 cups of coffee. One for me. Look, let me get it. There it is. Thank you, Davey. Yeah, man. So I probably missed so many questions. I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to make sure that I stay in the frame here. So my favorite song that I've written, that's hard to say. I think it depends on where I'm at in life at the time. You know what I mean? And it's probably like your favorite song. It depends on what you're going through. 1476 merch, yes, over at their site, 1476cult.com. The meaning behind the East Wing, it's Dark Shadows related. My guilty pleasure band favorite, Third Eye Blind. Only the first album. There's a good song on there. Don't let me come look through your Spotify playlist. You're just as guilty. Greetings from Scotland. Charlie, man, what's up, dude? I've been trying to get back to Scotland. I love Scotland. That's where part of my name, Argyle, comes from. So, my favorite current horror movie, Tiger King. That's some real life fucking horror. I missed the Blitzkid reunion one, I'm sorry. Favorite song to play on bass? I like Journey to the End of East Bay by Rancid. Favorite Common Rider? All of them, man. But probably I would have to say Heat Seekers. Meaning behind Vanishing Riders, there was a short story called The Lottery. And I'm drawing a blank on who wrote it right now, but it was about a town that had to draw a number and a name from someone there. And then you find out at the end that the person has to be sacrificed and killed. And I read that in school, so go Tazewell County Educational System. You're partially responsible for this. And I always thought it was a cool idea. And this is going to sound fucked up, but like as a kid growing up in the South, and not necessarily my area, it wasn't uncommon to see imagery of like people from the KKK, and that's fucking terrifying, okay? And I would see images of that as a kid, and I thought they were ghosts, and it was fucking terrifying. But again, it's just, that bullshit. The song's not about that, okay? I'm just saying, like, it's about imagery. It's about, like, an image of, like, a ghost coming over a mountain and just, like, that, the final moments. Let's see, Anatomy of Reanimation Volume 2. Like, here's the thing with Anatomy of Reanimation. I think it's a cool album. I think we did what we needed to do, and then we may have done a little more than we should have. You got to keep in mind, we just come off the heels of 5 Cellars Below. And if you, now in 2019, you can't go, listen to the quality of 5 Cellars Below, but when you compared it in 2006 to what we did before, we learned a lot in the studio. And a lot of that's due to Jason from Mr. Monster. He was our advocate, man. He was like, you need to get into a studio. And so Jason Troxon was really instrumental in us getting into record 5 Cellars Below. So when we went in for Anatomy, we were like, studio, we know what we're doing. And it was just like, what's this button do? Make that do something. I feel personally like maybe we kind of overdid it, but I don't hate it, I think it's a great album. Again, I'm talking about my own songs, so it's, of course, I'm going to think my kid's great at softball, but, Shirley Jackson, thank you so much. That's right, man. After Blitzkid tour, you guys thinking on playing together. Like I said, man, this tour came together literally maybe a month and a half before we announced it. At the skill of our booking agent making a 30-day tour happen that quick. Well, thank you. 5 Cellars Below is a transcendent album. I appreciate that. Like, there's albums for me that are transcendent. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know what you're saying. Like, I'm not saying that I'm agreeing with you about 5 Cellars Below, but I mean, I have a lot of albums like that. Like, not Third Eye Blind, but like The Doors. A lot of people are like The Doors, but like, that's fine. Like, everybody has their jam. And for me, when I was 11 years old and I heard The Doors, I heard End of the Night, go listen to End of the Night by The Doors. And like it's scary, man. You know, like it was just as heavy and ominous as anything that was coming out in like 91, much less 2020. So yeah, The Doors. Common Rider, yeah. Common Rider is one of my favorite bands. I love Operation Ivy. I found out about Common Rider on LimeWire, sorry. And I downloaded like every song. And in 2006, Blitzkid did a tour called Summer Sin where we lived in a van. You know, like no exaggeration. That's all we did was see each other in a van for 3 months. I mean, we probably played more shows in 2006 that summer than we ever did at any other point consecutively. And I had a Common Rider CD, and it just was, it was stuck. Once you got it to play, if you took it out, it wouldn't play anymore. So I just left it in. So anybody who rode in the van was forced to listen to Common Rider. But from what I've learned is I've inadvertently like created so many fans of that band like down the line, which I'm happy about. Ever listen to Misfits Devil's Rain? Van Days, yeah, Randy Rage, man. You took a chance on us. Should I tell the story? I've told this story, and Randy's just, she's clocking out. She's like, not again. But in 2006, on the Summer Sin tour, our first trip foray to New England, we played in Worcester, Massachusetts. Unbeknownst to us, it was Worcester, but to Blitzkid from West Virginia, where, you know, we were raised the way we were raised, Worcester was Worcester, and we spelled it on the back of the shirt. We immortalized our ignorance on the shirt. We were like, Worcester, and then we rubbed it in by saying, hey, Worcester. But anyway, that night in Worcester, we needed a place to stay, because again, living in a van, no joke. And a friend of ours was like, hey, this is Randy. Randy will let you stay at her house. Now, the place that we had stayed before, we caught the kitchen on fire. And we didn't mean to. But the fire department came, and it was an apartment complex, and it was crazy. And that's all Randy knew. I looked at her, and I said, well, just so you know, like, we caught someone's kitchen on fire. If you're okay with taking that chance, we're good. And here we are. How long has it been, Randy? Has it been 20 years? Still talking. Let's see. Worcester. That's it, man. Guys, again, I'm sorry if I keep missing your questions. I have honestly never in my life listened to Aiden. And that's not because I have an opinion. You know what I mean? I've never seen Breaking Bad. Right? And that's the best TV show ever made, apparently. It's time. You know what I mean? It's just, I mean, now there's time. But going back to the top of this conversation, I don't mean to like be like, I'm Mr. Busy, but when you've got band after band after band to run, sometimes it's hard. I don't really do anything else but this. Like what I'm doing with you guys and stuff, I wish I could do all the time. Let's see. Bruh. I know, bro. I know. Yeah, a graphic novel. Again, what I was just talking about. I've got so many things in the pipe. So, yes, hang on to that. There's an angle, though. We're going to drag Hoagie out of the house. Yeah, man, because Hoagie and I need to go Mothman hunting. Chicago's been having some sightings over the years. And, hold on, let's see if this makes a noise. Oh, did you guys hear that? That's my shit posture. Like this all day. Cannibal Flesh, right? So I'm going to play a song, all right? I'm going to take a break. Do I remember our first Blitzkid tour in Germany, Universum? Was that Stuttgart? I think that's the night we got bed bugs. Pretty sure that's the night we got bed bugs. If that's the case, yes, I do remember. But we had an awesome game of Frisbee that day, too. Well, thank you for playing us on Spotify. My Dying Bride, yeah. Mothman Hunting with Ghouls, Vlogorama. Like Davey's my guy, man. Right? Look at him. He's like my content sourcer right now. I love you, dude. So like Davey, like I'm gonna shout out for real right now, Calabrese. I'm sure if anybody's been back from the MySpace days, there was Blitzkid, Calabrese, and I don't know where that shit came from. That was all your guys' fault. I love you, but y'all were starting some drama. And no, Davey, as you know, man, those dudes, they got it on lockdown, man. They're awesome. So he's been encouraging me to do more of this stuff. Yeah, we're bummed we had to reschedule too, man. But again, we held out as long as we could. But this is the world we live in right now. You know what I mean? We're going to be in this for a while. And that's why I'm here. It's really not one of those things of like, oh, well, I guess I got to do it. It's an issue of I have time in the day, and I'm going to, be making more time. Hence why this is going to be weekly. Let's see. I'm going to look at the set list here from the Blitzkid Escape the Grave tour and see what I can play on acoustic guitar. And full disclosure, if you miss Close Casket Heart, I don't know if it sounded good. I'm not a guitar player. I'm just doing the best I can. But someone was asking me about this earlier. I wanted to tell you, like Close Casket Heart, yes, I wrote that song. I wrote that when I joined 1476 prior to, and then, when we were doing a Wolf's Age, it became one of those things of, let's do another song. And that's the song I had, and we all agreed that it probably should just remain acoustic. So, that's how it stayed. So, I mean, technically, I guess it's my song, but, I think the way it was played on that album couldn't have been played. I'm not saying anybody could play it, but I mean, the way that it was played was all like Rob, and, that brought a lot of, weight to that song, I think. Okay, so listen, I'm going to play a song, okay? Should I do a deep cut, or should I just, we'll save the deep cuts. We got some time. Okay. No. All right. Okay. This song is actually sung by TB. He wrote the music for this, and Jason from, again, Mr. Monster, he helped write some of the lyrics to this song. So, somebody mentioned Jason earlier, and I just kind of want to do a little one for him, kind of bring it full circle. This one's called Return to the Living. All right. I could give you with Return to the living. Return to the living. Return to the living. Return to the living. Hold on, let me turn this effect up. There we go. You guys getting all that? Whoa. Multitasking. Oh, shit. Look at me go here. All right, so yeah, that was Return to the Living. Anybody who knows Jason, if you were his friend, you can immediately dissect the lines that he wrote. Though such a pretty girl don't deserve to become worm food. Like, that's 100% Jason Troxon. Yeah, I know, right? That's what happens when they put wheels on chairs. Look at this. Return was the very first Blitzkid song. Right on, man. Let's see what else. You guys, excuse me. I want to point out to you, someone was asking me this earlier, and this goes back to the tour. They were like, how, where does that put you guys, like, financially? As you can see, I own guitars and a poster, and somebody painted this room really nicely before I got here. I'm like most people in this situation, man. This is what I do. You guys have been so fucking cool. Like, whenever I'm like, hey, here's a lyric book, or here's some music, you guys are like, or like this shirt, for example. We put out a commemorative Dr. Caligari shirt. We had so many people hit us up for that, man. And that's awesome. So when people ask how can, they support us right now, like how can we help you? Like, if you want, and this is all on you guys, really, like, I'm going to be here every week, and I'm like way past half an hour already. I'm sorry. But I'll keep going, man, whether you guys want to help out or not. But if you do, if you go to the bio link on my Instagram page, there's a link that says, of course, with No Name Live. Again, you can toss a buck, something like that if you want, or not. Like I said, I'm just happy to have you guys here. I know most of you, and I'm hoping to get to know more of you, and that's my main thing here. But yeah, if you want to help, some lights stay on, that'd be cool. Bat Whispers. Hold on, let me see. I don't remember it, I'm sorry. Anyway, so yeah, guys, we're going to come back here next week and do this all again. If you guys want to join me, I'll try to get some conversational skills locked down. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing good out there, man. I not to keep going back and forth here, but times are crazy, and who knows? The world is always in flux, right? If anything the world has taught us is that these things are going to happen. We're just one piece of the biosphere. You know what I mean? We just are one of the only creatures on it that are aware of it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's hard, man. It's hard to live in the world, the earth. You know what I mean? Like, when it doesn't really want you here. You know what I mean? To a degree. It's all about pushing boundaries and then boundaries pushing back. And who knows, for whatever reason, we're there right now. 100 years ago, we were dealing with the Spanish flu, right? Pandemic of epic proportions. And interesting enough, I do have a Spanish flu story. If you guys want to hear that, then I'll let you go. Do I have any takers on the Spanish flu story? Anybody? I'm going to pretend somebody said me, because now I've been sitting here. So, jumping over to another project I'm on right now, I'm scoring Nosferatu, my all-time favorite movie, which is hands down, at the same time, the most exhilarating and fucking terrifying thing I've ever done. Because what happens when you ruin your favorite movie, right? I'm about to find out, maybe. Who knows? But, you gotta take chances. And I love the movie enough that when I was approached to do the music, I said yes. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into. It's been singularly the most demanding thing I've ever done in my entire life. But it's also taught me so much about not just songwriting, my songwriting, but how that relates to other formats. And it's really helped me out, I think, in a lot of ways. But Spanish flu, not to make light of the situation, anybody who's in a band out there, any one of you knows, or anyone who is friends with someone who's been in a band, God forbid you've ever been to a studio whenever someone's recording. It's the most boring experience that anybody who's not doing it could ever subject themselves to. It's literally this. And you can't say anything, right? So you spend a lot of time, by the time the song gets to you, all 2.5 minutes of whoa, whoa, and yeah, like, each band has spent hours focused on this bit much of the song at a time. Hours. So the same is the case for me with Nosferatu right now, except for my case, I'm not just listening, I'm watching. So a lot of what I'm doing is being queued up to action. And that goes back to why this is so challenging. I'm not recording to a click, but I'm having to somehow make music work in time, that if it's listened to outside of the format of visuals, that it doesn't sound like someone just did a bunch of this. So at the point that I had to stop the last session of work on the album, there's a scene in the movie where everyone in the movie think that all of the deaths that are occurring from Nosferatu is actually because of the plague. And the day that we had to call it, we had just spent 5 hours working on like a 4-minute segment of audio video where it jumped between 2 cards that said, "I fear the plague is here, stay in your houses." And then there was another one that says, "The townspeople lived in mortal terror, who was sick and dying and who would be stricken tomorrow." And I was just looking at our engineer, Sean, like, bro, this is crazy. Like, did we concentrate this into being just from like, are we responsible? Like this, it's just so weird how that happened, but it has an extra layer of, like, holy shit, because the screenwriter for Nosferatu, a fellow by the name of Henrik Galeen, he had lived through the Spanish flu, most like everyone in Europe that survived it. So this Nosferatu was only a year after the Spanish flu had held off. So he was the one who decided to incorporate elements of the plague into Nosferatu. There was really none of that in Dracula. But anyway, long story short, Spanish flu inspired Nosferatu. Nosferatu is something I'm doing right now, and I had to stop doing it because of the plague. I have 1 minute and 45 seconds remaining, so when this cuts off, come back. We're going to wrap this up, and we'll talk about next week and all the stuff that we can get into. All right, so we're counting it down. Minute 30, 28. So really, for real, come back if you want. Other than that, I just want to say again, thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully this wasn't too annoying. Hope you guys had a good time. Again, if you want to help us out, hook us up, bio link, Corpse of No Name Live, whatever you want to do is cool. I know my brother TB, he's doing some guitar lessons right now, Blitz Kid Songs, if you want to check him out, hit him up. And we're going to do a movie club if you guys want to. All right, I don't know how far we'll get with it because all the sidetracking. But this week, you guys should watch White Zombie. We talked about it earlier. White Zombie, 1932, Halperin Brothers, Bela Lugosi. Check it out. As I said, that's a movie where you love it or you hate it. And I always love to hear why people love it and or hate it, because I have my reasons. I want to hear yours. We could talk about some books. Again, that was a good idea earlier. And again, if I missed you questions, I'm so sorry. I'm doing my best. I'm going to figure this out. And I have 23 seconds remaining. I think I'm going to call it. I've enough here today. But I just hope to see you guys again next week. And I hope you're doing good. Stay healthy. Stay safe. Be careful out there. Be mindful of each other. Look out for each other. We love you. I love you. My band loves you. Long live the horror.